Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, colleagues, everybody who's joined us. My name is Unati Mzwakali. I'm going to be your facilitator for today. Welcome to our very first STEMI Flicks and Chill session. Ne? Did I say it right, V? Yes, I did say it right, because I'm busy thinking Netflix. So today we have our first session. As I said, it is National Science Week, starting today, ending on Friday. And then we are going to have our career day on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that at the ICC. But we thought, how do we vavavoom up, National Science Week? How do we get more people involved virtually, people who cannot be at the sessions physically? Then we thought, let's think of something that people will actually want to join in. So that's why we're like, people like Netflix and chill. So we're like, okay, let's make it scientify Netflix, and STEMI Flicks and chill is what we came up with. So I do hope that you have your popcorn, your snacks, your chocolate, your lunch even, because I think it's almost lunchtime, and by the time we finish it will probably be lunchtime. So it's just an informal and chilled session. You can send in your questions and V will answer them as best as she can. So our presenter for today is Veshara Ramdas. She is a senior researcher within the CSIR Bioprocess Development Group, and her topic today is microbiology. And then she told me to say other complicated things, and I told her my scientific knowledge ends at photosynthesis. So everything else that she wants to tell you, she can do herself. V, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to go off camera so you can do your thing, and then I'll see you guys when she's done and we're taking on questions.
Okay. Hi, guys. Good afternoon. I see it's exactly 12 o'clock. I'm Dr. Veshara Ramdas, and I am a microbiologist. I'm from the CSIR. The unit I'm with is called Bioprocess Development. So I thought I'd just very briefly, tell you about my background and how I started and how my journey led me to being a microbiologist. So long ago, I did science, I did mathematics, I did geography, history in school, but I always had a passion for science and biology, and that led me to then enroll at university, where I decided to do something in health sciences. But more specifically, I went into medical microbiology, and I actually qualified as a medical technologist. So I started off working in a pathology lab. I worked long hours, 12-hour shifts. It was hectic, but I was young back then, so it was okay. I didn't mind the shifts, and the work was very high intensive. Worked with a lot of ICU and high care patient samples and processing it, doing chem analysis, doing microbiology, doing hematology, as well as some cytogenetics. So that's where I started. I then decided, okay, I've had my 2-year experience working in the pathology laboratory. What is the next step? And I then went on to doing a master's degree. But my master's degree focused more on green chemistry and nanotechnology. And I looked specifically at, because I was still in the medical microbiology section, I looked at identifying alternative treatments for diabetes using nanotechnology. And I then qualified with a master's degree. From there, I'm the type of person that then said, okay, I have a master's now. Let me try and get a job. And I thought studying was over at that point, which it was for a year, I think. And then I decided, okay, how can I now challenge myself to something different and something new? And that's when I came across the NRF's internship in Pretoria. So just a bit of where I'm from. I'm from Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. So when I told my parents, there's the internship in Pretoria and I really want to do it, let me apply, let's see. So I applied. I managed to get in, and I did an internship with the bioprocessing group at CSIR through the NRF. After my internship, I then pursued my PhD, and I enrolled as a PhD student at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and specifically in the field of microbiology. And yeah, 4 years later, I am now a senior researcher within the bioprocess development group at CSIR. So yeah, that my journey's been, it seems a bit longer in my head, but when you say it out loud, it's a bit shorter. But yeah, I think for now it's focusing a lot on, my research focuses a lot on bio-based technologies more than medical microbiology. So we're looking at ways of combating climate change using non-pathogenic. When I say non-pathogenic, I mean non-harmful bacteria or other microorganisms to produce bio-based products. And yeah, Unati, that's just a brief version, or my version of my story of where I started and where I'm currently at.
Okay, the nice thing about being a facilitator is that I get to ask my questions first.
Go ahead.
So I want to know, before I go to the questions that we have, how was the transition for you from being in the medical field to being where you are now? Are there similarities or differences between the two, and what are they, and how was your transition period?
Okay, so just to be honest, actually, when I applied for the internship at the CSIR, I was asked that very same question. Like, you coming from a medical background, are you sure you want to work? So in with this group at the bioprocessing technology group. So I think the transition, first of all, wasn't easy because I was then a very small fish in a big pond. And then I had to change my mindset a lot because I worked with pathogenic microorganisms. And now, currently, I'm working with non-pathogenic microorganisms. So it was a complete paradigm shift for me. And I think it was good because it now created a new challenge in my life. I started off with researching a lot. When I started within the CSIR, it basically felt like I was starting university all over again because I had to go back and then look at the non-pathogenic microorganisms that we studied and how we can use it in a useful manner in terms of what this group does currently. So I think, yeah, it was really, really challenging. I must say, Unati, it wasn't easy, but yeah, it definitely took some time to adjust to this new field and maybe this new environment. I won't say field, it's a new environment. And I think it's very important as a scientist to not just be in a box, but to always expand yourself. And I think that's what I allowed myself to do, is to expand on my research.
Wow, it takes a lot of, I can imagine, a lot of resilience and a lot of self-discipline to be able to do that. I'm like, I've been doing my master's for the past, let's not say how many years, because I'm running away from the research part of it, but it's inevitable. And for you, that's like your main thing.
I think it takes a lot of discipline as well, especially when you're doing postgraduate studies, because you could be working and you could be doing postgrad on the side. So it does take a lot of your weekends. It takes a lot of your social time. But I think if you just keep a level head and you stay focused and you know where you want to be, it can be achieved. And I think that's what I always maintained. So life carries on. Like, I still got married. I still had a baby. But my passion still remained the same, and I still wanted to uplift my career. So I think that was always important for me. And I think women in science, it might be slightly harder for us to progress. Yeah. And I think now, like we can say now, we're slowly moving into more senior positions, which is great. I think it's great. It's because our qualifications are increasing. So I didn't stop with a PhD currently this year. I thought my PhD would be the last thing I would enroll for, but this year I won't say bullied, but I would say encouraged.
Encouraged, yes.
Encouraged to do something else. And I enrolled at the University of Pretoria for a management course. So, and I think that's great. It's stressful because it's not easy having an 11-month-old baby at home and then you studying.
You're studying, you're working, you're a wife.
Exactly.
But it means you're good at juggling, you see?
I think it's about multitasking, and I think that's very important. When you progress as a researcher, you have to multitask. There's no way you can just do one single thing and follow one trajectory or pathway. There's like multiple things getting thrown at you, and I feel like women nowadays are excellent at multitasking. So we have that skill. So let's use that skill to our benefit.
V, I'm monopolizing this conversation, and this is not about me. So let me read the question before I get fired. I'm going to ask, the first question is, describe the role that microbiologists played in the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's the first question. I'm going to ask the question, you answer, and then so that I don't overwhelm you with questions.
Yeah, no problem. So I think pre-COVID, nobody knew what a microbiologist did. And then when COVID happened in 2020, all of a sudden, everyone was a microbiologist. So it was definitely a shift globally where people were now more aware of what we do, especially, like I mentioned, medical microbiology. Those samples that people were submitting for testing of COVID, they were submitted to medical technologists, people like me at that time. So I think it really opened up globally people's eyes to what microbiology is. If you don't know what microbiology is, I can give you a definition. It's basically a scientific study where we work with a lot of microorganisms, and these microorganisms can be unicellular, multicellular, or acellular. But within microbiology, it encompasses different subdisciplines. And within that subdiscipline is virology, and that's where COVID came in. So I think it was a very relevant thing, and I'm so glad that microbiologists around the world all united against the fight against COVID, and I think together they developed a vaccine. So I think it's an awesome achievement, and scientists around the world definitely need to be commended because it was a global effort, and global scientists came together to develop this vaccine, and I think it was a very important, it was a very eye-opening situation for the world. And it also highlighted the importance of us.
Yes, it did. It did. Some of us didn't even know you exist. So you can thank COVID for, giving you exposure.
We with our lab coats and we buried in the labs and nobody really knows about us.
Yeah, but now we put faces to the lab coats, you see. Am I still there? Oh, yeah. Okay. Next question. What was your PhD about, and how did it contribute to personal career growth?
Okay, so when I started my PhD, there were a couple of topics that I was interested in, but more specific on using bacillus organisms, which, like I mentioned, are non-pathogenic, which means they're not harmful, but using the products that these organisms used in a useful way. And that's what my supervisor told me. It's like, come up with a topic and let's discuss it. So I then settled on a topic which is a bit of microbiology, but a lot of civil engineering. And I'm working together with Smart Mobility, CSIR Smart Mobility, to develop a product. So the PhD was also associated with the project, and the project was titled Biostabilizer. So the PhD was titled The Development of Bio-Based Products for Road Stabilization Applications. So
I'm going to interrupt you. I remember editing stuff about that stuff, and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm only here to fix the English. So I remember that.
So there was a lot of media around it, especially since it progressed to a technology readiness level of 6. And I think within the CSR, there's a lot of collaboration currently around this project, but it started off with my PhD. And I think I was very fortunate that it was part of a bigger project, because now I'm seeing the end results of the PhD. So we have progressed quite well with the project since the PhD. And I think in terms of that, it boosted my career in a way where I was now being showcased. Is that the correct word? Maybe showcased. And also my expertise was now getting more focused in looking at soil stabilizers. So I think it was maybe correctly aligned, or maybe the stars came, my stars were correctly aligned, and everything just came together. And I was then fortunate enough to apply for a position as a candidate researcher. And I did get it, and then progressed from there, from a contract position to then a permanent position. So I think it was a stepping stone, and I think it, when you think of studies, especially masters and PhD, don't think of it as just an academic process, because it does open doors. My PhD opened a lot of doors for me. I won't lie about that aspect of it, but it was a lot of hard work, and I think it really, really pays off in the end. So yeah.
You've encouraged me to continue with my masters.
Finish your masters.
I am going to finish them. I will. I promise.
And I will.
You must hold me to it. Yes, please do. Okay. Describe the toughest part of completing your PhD, and how did you overcome that?
Okay. So the toughest part of the PhD was receiving feedback, I think, for me. You kind of have to have a thicker skin in this industry, like in science in general. You just have to have a thick skin. And I think I developed that over a couple of years. It wasn't easy at first, because I was a very introverted person, and I was very sensitive to certain things. And then you'd get a comment, and then you look at the feedback you got from, for example, a document you wrote, and then you look like, wow, I really feel like I know nothing. So it does happen that you get feedback, but I will always, always remember something that my supervisor told me. And he was also my mentor at that time. He said, you know what, at this stage of your PhD, all feedback is going to be negative, Veshara. That's what he told me. And take that feedback and turn it into something positive. Because, and I didn't fully take in what he said until after I finished my PhD, because that feedback that was given may have been negative or positive. It was feedback that improved me as a researcher and improved me as a scientist. And I think it was so vital back then. I may have not have seen it, but I think after the PhD, I realized that it's something that you just have to accept in this type of field. And so I think that was the biggest hurdle for me in terms of that. And then also COVID happened when I was handing in my dissertation. So I kind of had to time management myself, as in when we were allowed to go back into the lab, and then also time for writing. So during lockdown was a very tough period to then get the PhD finished and completed and then handed in. So I would say those two things were the toughest part. Nachi, there was a second component to your question. Can you repeat that? Or was there? Did I answer the question?
Let me just make sure. You answered it, because it was the toughest part, and then how you overcame it. So you answered that.
Cool.
So now these next two questions are sort of similar, and you've already given us a bit about how you got into microbiology, but I'm going to read the questions nonetheless, and then maybe you can give us more information. So I'm going to read them both because they're kind of linked. Okay. So it says, did you always know that you wanted to get a PhD in microbiology? That's the first one. And then the second one is, how did you decide microbiology was your career choice? And did you know when you were in school? So that's why I'm reading them together, because I feel like they're...
Yeah, so it's a bit of an interlinked question. Yes. So I think, no, to answer. I didn't always know I wanted a PhD in microbiology, but my passion was in the field of microbiology, and that started when I was in high school already. But I didn't think it would lead me to actually getting a PhD in it. And I think it's important to identify your passion. Whether it be in high school or university, maybe it comes later on in life, and then always pursue it. I think it's very important to choose a field that you're going to enjoy, because you have to remember that you're going to be fully immersed in this. So, it's a day-on-day process. So I love microbiology. I can be in the lab 24/7. And I think that passion has driven me to get to where I am thus far. And I think it's very important like I said, identify your passion and then continue fighting your way to get where you want to be in life.
Okay. Those are all the questions we've had thus far. Thank you so much. You've actually motivated me. You really have. Obviously not PhD or whatever, but no. Masters, yes. Lindy. Okay, wait. I think there's more questions in. Just give me a second to go into my... There's another question. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your current research?
Okay, that's...
Are you allowed? It's not a secret.
Yeah, there's IP involved.
So I won't give tell us what you can tell us.
Okay. Yeah. No, so the current research, so within the bioprocess development group, we have different platforms, and the platform I'm associated with, whereby I am one of the principal investigators, is called bioadditives. It's a bioadditives platform, and this has numerous projects under it, whereby that's led by me. And some of those projects are biosurfactants, bioplastics, and as I mentioned, road stabilizers, which is the big one, the biostabilizers. So I'm working on a number of projects all at the same time. It's no one specific project, but I'll tell you a bit about each, I think, just briefly, because we also time constrained. So the bioplastic project is very exciting because it's around microbial, so what organisms can produce in terms of products. And we've determined that some organisms can produce certain biopolymers that can be converted into a bioplastic. So that's a very, very exciting project, an upcoming project within the bioadditives platform. Another exciting project is like I mentioned before, is the biostabilizer project. And the product, a number of products have been developed within the group. And currently, very exciting, we have field trials coming up. So very excited for this stage of the technology. And it's, like I said, was linked to the PhD. So it's quite exciting to see a product now get to an end user application. So yeah, that's another project that I'm very actively involved in. And then also biosurfactants as well. So it's microbial produced biosurfactants. When I say microbial, I'm also talking about microorganisms and different microorganisms as well.
Before we go, if we are going, what is biosurfactants?
Biosurfactants. So very simply, if you think about sunlight liquid, the soapiness that you get from sunlight liquid, that's a surfactant.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Lindy, do we have any more questions? We are all good. Those are all the questions we've had for today. Thank you so much for inspiring me, and I hope you've inspired all the viewers that were watching today. We value you now that you know what you do. Now that we know we have to value you. And I wish you all the best, with the trials that you were talking about. Fingers crossed. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, and you keep yours crossed for me to finish my master's. Please remember to join us for the rest of the week. We continue tomorrow from 12 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, we don't have a session because we have our career day. We have another session on Thursday from 12 o'clock. And then on Friday, we have 2 sessions to make up for Thursday. So please continue to join us. Whoever was online today, please come back tomorrow and the rest of the week. And we are really grateful to you for joining us, and to you, V, for motivating us, for being here, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to talk to us. And then, yeah, that's it for today. We shall see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock with another topic and another presenter, still the same facilitator. But until then, please take care of yourselves, keep well, keep doing sciencey things, and yeah, shall see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.